So I'm with Kelsey Taylor, the filmmaker behind To Kill a Wolf. I just gonna say I love it. My co-host over at Cinematics, I hate the rating system, but we do it. We both gave it your film 5 stars. We both love your film so
Oh,
much. I want to just start right off the bat with from the screenwriting element. I was listening to
yeah.
one of your interviews and you were talking about writing a screenplay to shoot and writing a screenplay for people to read. That sounds very hard to do, but it seems really like insightful advice. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. And you know what? Maybe they do this at a bigger level. I'm sure I'm not the first person to come up with this idea, but I think reading a screenplay is a very different experience than shooting one. There's so much more nuance when you see something on the screen. Like, we get it, we remember it, we're visual people. But in a screenplay, you're trying to get someone's attention. And I just have met so many people who will read a screenplay in an hour. Like, how did you take it all in? And I think because we get so many screenplays and we share them, that people are just used to reading very quickly. And it's so easy to miss something, like a single line that says he looks at her with care in his eyes. That's bad. But something like that means a lot when you see it and you linger on it for a full 30 seconds. Whereas in a screenplay, you just scan past. I think it's hard to get a sense of pacing in a screenplay. And I try to write in a way that you get that in my work, at least. But yeah, I would definitely do two different versions, try to sell the exacts on one and then shoot the one that is more trimmed down. Same story, but just selling it in a different way.
Kelsey, so not just two different versions, but I think for a lot of writers, just writing one version, completing a screenplay seems like a very hard task as well. For you as
Yes.
an experienced filmmaker and artist, what was your unlock as far as finishing your screenplay or screenplays? Is there something you learned along the way that helped you actually complete the story? Because that cliche is sometimes art isn't really completed, it's abandoned. So how does
Yeah.
one really complete it when it's
I
abandoned,
love
right?
it. And I have a good friend who says sometimes you just got to stop in an interesting place. And I think that's true because you come back to it every day. I think Rick Rubin said this, but you come back to it every day and you're a different person. So you're going to put something new into it. And I'm a tweaker. Every time I come back to it, I start in the PDF version and then I end up in the final draft document again, just tweaking little things in language because just to make sure it rings in the right way. But yeah, I've learned so much since this first one. I'd written one in school that I don't count because it didn't know what it was doing. But I think the biggest thing is we're all trying to make sure that we get the structure right. And I personally think that sometimes you have to let go of the structure, which you can maybe tell by the film, which is not quite typical. But structure is super, super important. But I also think we consume movies, we consume books, we consume stories all the time. So I think within us inherently is storytelling. And I think sometimes you need the structure to lay out the bones of it, but then you should make sure that you're just telling the story in the best way you can tell the story. So following the lead on that and not being so strict to structure is something that I've slowly learned. I also think at the same time, when you start out, you probably should follow structure. Like, you need to know the structure before you start breaking it. And I have a wall of books and I'm not committed to any one screenwriting book, but I think reading all these different strategies of ways of writing is helpful. It gives good insights, but I'm definitely not cultish about any one book. But every time I get stuck, I'm like, you know what? Let's change it up. Let's see what Truby says about this. And like, you know what? We'll go back to Save the Cat. And then I'll bring out the nutshell book. And yeah, it's always changing things up. And the biggest thing that has affected my writing is probably making this movie because rarely do you get the things that you write turned into an actual visual product. So I will be taking that into my next film for sure.
So when we reviewed your film last week, my partner, co-host Eric was saying, "Yeah, I understand the whole Little Red Riding Hood modern day thing, and it's a good hook." But he said, "I still love the movie because it doesn't need it." And I think what he meant was, it's a very singular story, and your narrative is about not just about the trauma of abuse,
Yeah.
it's also about forgiveness, and it's also about, I think, very important is if you are in a very bad place and continue to be, that doesn't mean you can't reach out to other people and help them. All of that said, and you're developing and you're changing as a person while you're writing it, what is it like to complete it and share your film with other people who are actually going through those themes in their daily life and getting that feedback with your film?
Yeah. It's overwhelming. I'm someone who's quite sensitive, and I think meeting people who have been affected by the film and hearing their stories, it's overwhelming and it makes me feel like it was all worth it. Every time I start to think, oh man, this movie's been rough. Was the last 7, 8 years worth it? Yes, 100%. Every time it connects with someone, every time it does a little bit to make someone feel better. Someone had just walked into one of our New York screenings and she said that she was just having a bad day and went to the movies and she loved the film and it made her day a little better. It's like, that's all we wanted was to share the story with other people. And you get caught up in a system of wanting to put it out there on the right platforms and in theaters and stuff, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how people get the film or see it. I want to make films that have a message and that change people for the better. And I love that you guys are talking about the Little Red Riding Hood structure of it because it's been a hot debate from the beginning. I'm not even sure how I feel about it. Sometimes I watch the film, I'm like, yeah, it's distracting. So I'm gonna have to go watch your guys' breakdown of it because I love asking people, did we need it? Should we not have done it? Yeah.
I love indie films, but during the review, I said this is a movie that actually should be seen in theaters. So double layer on this. What's it like? You have one of those really interesting release schedules with To Kill a Wolf, with the Q&As and the different cities.
Yeah.
Talk about that decision and partnering up with maybe Regal. And then also that part of it is, can you just talk about your DP, whom obviously you're very close to, but just having that immersive visual experience as well in theaters, which I think is really cool about your film.
I'm so glad you brought that up because the theaters, we spent the last weekend in New York in the second row, and you're in the film, and the sound is you can't beat the sound as well. You have to see it on the big screen. And I just saw it again last night on a much smaller screen. I was like, you don't get the subtlety of the performances. I didn't realize how much is lost when you watch it on a smaller screen. And every time I watched it in a Regal theater, I'm like, Ivan and Maddison, Michael, Kayla, everyone is so good, and just the subtle change of their eyes, you lose that when you see it on a smaller screen. I really want people to see it in theaters. It is the best experience. And also seeing it with an audience, I think is important, especially for a film like this. I want people to come out feeling like a little bit warmer to the people around them. Like we share this experience. And it's important for us to go to the films. I would go to every screening if I could, just to interact with people, ask them like, hey, what brought you in here today? And my dream is to listen to people talk about it on their way out of the theater and they don't know that I'm there listening. I want to hear reactions, real reactions.
You said 7 to 8 years. What kept you moving forward with the film? Because I think a lot of people would have probably given up on whatever year. Even hanging on after 1 year is a big deal. But what
Yeah,
kept you moving forward?
that's a good question. I think I'm generally a very stubborn person with everything. And the more someone says you can't or you shouldn't, the more, no, I'm going to, I will. And this went through different iterations of making the version of the movie that was gone through more proper channels and with production companies involved. And every time it didn't work out. I think there will be a way to do it. We just have to do it ourselves. And ultimately, that is what happened. But I'm kind of like a dog with a bone when I have an idea I really want to do. And even the next project I want to make, I know it's going to be hard. Like I know I'm signing up for another 7 years with that one, but I can't help just dig my heels in and say, I got to do it. I got to do it. And maybe it's the story. I don't know. I haven't spent a whole lot of time distilling what is that thing that makes me go.
Also, in that interview that I was checking out, did you guys finance your own the movie? That's also a rule that
Partially.
and can you just talk about breaking that rule? And maybe that rule shouldn't be a rule, maybe from your experience. What do you think?
It's tough because movies are very expensive. And we keep joking that more and more it feels like movies are a very expensive hobby because good luck making your money back. And we accepted that. So Adam, my partner, and I said, we're not going to grad school. We're not buying a house in this market. So why not put it into a movie? It's an investment in our careers. We keep saying we want to make movies, and at a certain point, you have to make movies if you're going to make movies. So we decided Blue Ruin was a really big reference for us, and that's forever ago. But that launched Jeremy, and I just think that movie is also beautiful. So we very much were like, look, we'll just do it ourselves. We'll call on friends and family, and we did end up raising more financing. I can't say that we just did it ourselves, but through friends and family, we were able to get through production. And then we continued to raise money through a company called Slated. And we had individual investors through them who helped fund the film and also raise more money for distribution now that we're doing it ourselves. So lots of kind friends, allies, producers who made this possible.
So this is weird. A couple years ago, I really enjoyed this movie called High Heat, and
Oh
I,
my
I
gosh.
interviewed Zach Golden a couple of years ago for this, and he was a really nice guy. I live in the suburbs, but I'm also a city slicker. And he talked about how much he loved at the time living in the Catskills, I believe. And so I was piecing back, and then I was thinking, wait, I interviewed Caitlin Doubleday for, and then I was starting to piece things together. Can you just talk? Wait, who shot this movie? Because I really, wait, Ivan is the Woodsman. He's so great in this. He was that in what's going on here? Can you tell our listeners as far as it's two different movies, but great double feature if you want to connect the dots. Can you speak to that? That's amazing.
Love that. That's insane. No one's ever put the pieces together, but every Q&A I bring up High Heat because it brought a lot of people together. I'm curious, for your double feature, which movie would you watch first?
Look, I like going for the really introspective, insightful movie first. No disrespect to Zach and his film, but then I'll go for the hot dog and cheeseburger stuff later and the Diet Coke. Okay, so the nice treadmill and the listening to jazz, your film first, and then when I get all the caloric stuff, I'm gonna go for High Heat. So that's my answer to that.
High
So
Heat is so fun, and we had a blast and met such talented actors. Doing High Heat was really a big reason we ended up with Ivan and Caitlin because we're like, these are great actors. And we had casted Ivan based on that experience because just working with him was a lot of fun. He was down to experiment. And I did a pass of the script after meeting Ivan based on the premise. Ivan had proposed, what if this Woodsman really smokes weed? And I was really opposed to that at first. And then after wrapping my head around, I was like, you know what? Let's explore that. That blows my mind that you've seen High Heat and you made the connections because it's basically the same, but totally different.
yeah, and also just the livings that I'm sure you guys went cabin hunting. I saw on your IG, it's hunted
Yeah.
free, and but Golden was talking about living in the mountains in Catskills. Did you ever? And he's a producer, I think, on this project as well. One of the producers. Did you guys
Yeah.
ever pick each other's brains about that whole lifestyle, or is that something that you know about as well, or are you like me who lives in the city and doesn't go outdoors? Where do you guys stand on that?
Greg, did Zach send you to talk to?
No.
Zach's a dear friend, and we spent a lot of time at his cabin in the Catskills. And we had actually shot a teaser for To Kill a Wolf up in the Catskills because we can stay at Zach's cabin and go out and shoot things. I would love to have a cabin in the woods. That is my dream. I'm from a very rural area, and so sometimes I just need that isolation and quiet and nature. I love walking for hours and have no other sound but the forest. That said, it's a very hard thing to just disappear off the face of the earth in the industry that I work in. I've been debating where is that promised land and when is the time to make that move, or how do you split your time between places? Because I like it all. I like change.
I'm gonna get the Blu-ray. Kelsey,
Do it.
labor of love, physical media. When I'm a Gen Xer, because that was a used to be a money making machine, but the fact that you guys are releasing it on physical media, is it another part of your limb you're giving away just because of the love for To Kill a Wolf? Because I don't even know if that's a viable thing anymore, but I don't want to say that, even though I collect so much
Yeah.
Blu-rays and physical media myself. But can you talk about that decision?
Yeah, honestly, we had an awesome screening in Tallgrass, and I wasn't able to go to it. And had a wonderful guy, Clint, reach out after. He's, I love this movie. Are you going to make a Blu-ray? And I was like, because you asked, I will make a Blu-ray. So it's because of Clint, and I'm hoping that there's more people like you, Greg, who are like, I love physical media. So yeah, I will be shipping the Blu-rays to you, unless we can find a partner. But yeah, it used to be a big moneymaker. Look at this. We got merch too.
Oh, on the website? Is that going to be up on the website? I'm gonna be the first buyer, one of the first buyers.
I gotta go photograph it after this. But truly, we just there is love for this film. It is a small film, but there's a lot of heart behind it, and we want to be able to share the love. And I started this as a cast and crew project, and I was like, you know what? Why not? It seems like people are enjoying it. Why not put it out there? It's a good way to spread the word. It's a good conversation starter at Trader Joe's. I talk to people all the time about what is this thing you're wearing? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'll be a big moneymaker someday.
Buy merch on
Bye. Yes.
tokillawolf.com. So immediately, okay, final couple questions.
Yeah.
People will watch this movie and they'll say, wow, we got to hire that director for our new project. We got to hire the DP. But what about other people who say, Evan Martin, amazing lead actor, got to hire him. Maddison Brown, amazing as well. What is it like to know that you got two great locked in lead performances and their careers are doing great, but just to know that they actually have something like this to actually anchor their work, that must mean a lot to you personally?
Yeah, honestly, it makes me angry, I will say, because they are so good. They're so talented, especially if you see it on a big screen, just the subtlety. They're amazing. And I think we live in this world right now where I feel like every conversation I have about funding of films, who's going to be in it and who can we raise the money off of actor wise? And you're like, what about all these really talented actors who haven't had a chance to become a superstar and an international sales attraction? That's frustrating. But I'm really hopeful that because they are so good in this, because people are recognizing their performances, that this will give them the leg up into the next thing. And I know Ivan's already got something really cool brewing with Zach Golden. So they're going to be fine because they are talented. But it takes a lot to stick it out in an industry that's constantly rejecting you. So while I have total faith, Madison's also busy on a show in Australia. I also wish that financiers, frankly, would take more risk on just talented actors and not worry so much about foreign sales.
Yeah. And last couple of questions is people who want to get into filmmaking,
Yeah.
directing, what is one thing that a lot of people maybe overlook at the start of their journey, or maybe something that you might have overlooked when you decided to embark on a career in filmmaking that you think really needs to be stressed for people who decide to go on this path?
Yeah. And maybe this is cliche. I feel like this is said a lot, but you have to love it. You have to truly love it. And you should know what you love about it. For me, I love storytelling. I love bringing stories to life, and I like every single aspect of it. I enjoy the pre-production of looking for locations, the writing, the post, putting it together, talking about the film. That's my least favorite part, but I think you really have to love it. Otherwise, you won't be sustained for that 7 years of chasing it. And I think a lot of people get involved not realizing it's going to be such a long-term venture. Yeah.
Yeah, and on that long-term venture, you said the 7 to 8 years. When you're writing the screenplay, was the automatic theme of the resident theme and mature theme, I think, of helping other people, even though you might be really not in a good place emotionally to do it for yourself, you can do it for other people. Did you grow to that place when you were writing the script, or was that already locked in when you started from word one?
Yeah, so insightful, Greg. Not at all. When I started the script, it was a female empowerment. Little Red Riding Hood kicks ass and saves herself. That was the basic premise. Was like, what if Little Red Riding Hood had to save herself? What if the Woodsman shows up and he's not a good guy? We're in a very different place now, and I'm really glad it took 7 years because I agree. I think this is a much more mature look at it. It was more of a genre film at that point, but I think we're lacking in cinema that does have a message and gives something for people to chew on. And I hope with this message, it is complicated. It is not as simple as just help other people. It is help other people when you're hurting, and how do you do that? And I do think if we were able to talk and if we were able to give people the benefit of the doubt, especially in this very polarized world that we're living in, the world would be a lot better place.
And Kelsey, final the rote question though is, can you name one of your all-time favorite movies, and what does this movie do for you on a personal level? Because I want to dovetail it in the sense that you might spend another 7 years working on a really big project. What that cinema must mean a lot to you. So I want something like a personal choice for you because yeah.
For years, I denied, like, I wanted to be a cool kid and have the film that was loved by cinephiles. And just if I'm being fully honest, Lord of the Rings, I love, love, love those movies. I've definitely watched them more than anything. And I think you can feel the love that went into making those movies. The people involved truly loved all the world building. And I think it is that messaging too. It's like with other people, you will be able to complete this very hard journey. And I think it's also interesting when you see the later versions, the Hobbit and stuff. I don't think you feel the same heart and soul that went into the originals. And that's another film that when I watched it in theaters, man, the music is incredible. And I love the recurring themes and stuff. I just think the craft of those movies is so exquisite, but it also has such heart behind it. So I have so much love for those films.
Kelsey, thank you so much for your time. Really love To Kill a Wolf.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Greg. I think Adam was telling me that he was watching your guys' conversation because I can't engage with the reviews. It breaks my heart sometimes.
Yeah, no, I don't want to break your heart. We lied. We gave your movie 0 stars and we hated it. So Adam's also lying to you. So I would question that companionship you have with him.
Our world is crumbling.
So, anyways, congratulations. And my only thing is, please start putting merch on tokillawolf.com so I can, okay, please. And then on your physical media, I hope you 3 deleted scenes and possible commentary, maybe patch in through Australia and Ivan's when he's on set somewhere or
Yes.
yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Greg.
Okay.
Also, give me feedback on the t-shirts because we're just designing them for fun. So if you have some, you're like, that's a cool idea for design, just holler. We'll make you a shirt.
Oh yeah, sounds good. I would be cool with I forgot the name of the raccoon, but I'd be cool with a raccoon shirt, right?
Yeah, okay.
I'm sure you've gotten a bunch of raccoon requests.
Adam is all about Dave. Yeah. Okay. I'll work on that.
All right. Thank you so much, Kelsey. You take care. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. For more movie and television reviews and interviews, please subscribe to my Deepest Dream channel. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And as always, thanks so much for your support. Take care.